on these areas where we need to make sure that we're maintaining our lead. Okay. Bill Plant.
Thank you, Mr. President. Anybody on Capitol Hill will say that there's no chance that the American Jobs Act in its current state passes either house. And you've been out on the campaign trail banging away at them saying, pass this bill.
Right.
And it begins sort of look like you're campaigning and like you're following the Harry Truman model against the do-nothing Congress instead of negotiating. Are you negotiating? Will you?
I am always open to negotiations. What is also true is they need to do something. I mean, I'm not, look, Bill, I think it is very clear that if members of Congress come in and say, all right, we want to build infrastructure, here's the way we think we can do it. We want to put construction workers back to work, we've got some ideas. I am ready, eager to work with them. They say, you know, we've got this great idea for putting teachers back in the classroom. It's a little different than what you've proposed in the jobs bill. I'm ready, eager to work with them. But that's not what we're hearing right now. I mean, what we're hearing is that their big ideas, the ones that make sense, are ones we're already doing. Now, they've given me a list of, well, here's the Republican job creation ideas. Let's pass free trade agreements. It's great that we're passing these free trade agreements. We put them forward. I expect bipartisan support. I think it's going to be good for the American economy. But it's not going to meet the challenge of 9% unemployment or an economy that is currently weakening. It's not enough. Patent reform, very important for our long-term competitiveness. There's nobody out there who actually thinks that that's going to immediately fill the needs of people who are out of work or strengthen the economy right now. So what I've tried to do is say, here are the best ideas I've heard, not just from partisans, but from independent economists. These are the ideas most likely to create jobs now and strengthen the economy right now. And that's what the American people are looking for. And the response from Republicans has been no, although they haven't given a good reason why they're opposed to putting construction workers back on the job or teachers back in the classroom. And if you ask them, well, okay, if you're not for that, what are you for? Trade's already been done, patent reform's been done, what else? The answer we're getting right now is, well, we're going to roll back all these Obama regulations. So their big economic plan to put people back to work right now is to roll back financial protections and allow banks to charge hidden fees on credit cards again, or weaken consumer watchdogs. Or alternatively, they've said, we'll roll back regulations that make sure we've got clean air and clean water. Eliminate the EPA. Does anybody really think that that is going to create jobs right now and meet the challenges of a global economy that is weakening with all these forces coming into play? I mean, here's a good question. Here's a little homework assignment for folks. Go ask the Republicans what their jobs plan is if they're opposed to the American Jobs Act, and have it scored, have it assessed by the same independent economists that assessed our jobs plan. These independent economists say that we could grow the economy as much as 2%, and as many as 1.9 million workers would be back on the job. I think it'd be interesting to have them do a similar assessment. Same people. Some of these folks, by the way, traditionally have worked for Republicans, not just Democrats. Have those economists evaluate what over the next 2 years the Republican jobs plan would do. I'll be interested in the answer. I think everybody here, I see some smirks in the audience because you know that it's not going to be real robust. And so Bill, the question then is, will Congress do something? If Congress does something, then I can't run against a do-nothing Congress. If Congress does nothing, then it's not a matter of me running against them. I think the American people will run them out of town because they are frustrated and they know we need to do something big and something bold. Now, the American people are also concerned about making sure that we have a government that lives within its means, which is why I put forward a plan that would also reduce our deficit and our debt in a more aggressive way than what the special committee's been charged with. You know, folks want to talk about corporate tax reform. I've already said I'm happy to engage with them on corporate tax reform. I'm happy to engage with them working to see what we can do to streamline and simplify our tax code, eliminate all the loopholes, eliminate these special interest carve-outs, and potentially lower rates in the process while raising more revenue. I am happy to negotiate with them on a whole host of issues, but right now we've got an emergency. And the American people are living that emergency out every single day, and they have been for a long time. You know, they are working really hard, and if they're not on the job, then they're working really hard to find a job. And they're losing their homes, and their kids are having to drop out of school because they can't afford student loans, and they're putting off visiting a doctor because when they lost their job, they lost their health insurance. They are struggling. And as a consequence, by the way, all of us are struggling, even those who are well off. The irony is the same folks that the Republicans claim to be protecting, the well-off, the millionaires and the billionaires, they'd be doing better, they'd be making more money if ordinary Americans had some money in their pockets and were out there feeling more confident about the economy. That's been the lesson of our history. When folks in the middle and at the bottom are doing well, the folks at the top do even better.
Is this kind of public pressure the only leverage you have, sir?
Look, we have a democracy, and right now John Boehner is the Speaker of the House, and Mitch McConnell is the Republican leader, and you know, all I can do is make the best arguments and mobilize the American people so that they're responsive. So far, they haven't been responsive to not just me, but public opinion. We saw that during the debt ceiling vote. But we're just going to keep on making the case. But I guess what I'm saying, though, here, Bill, is, and I said this when I made my speech at the joint session, the election is 13, 14 months away. I would love nothing more than to not have to be out there campaigning because we were seeing constructive action here in Congress. That's my goal. That's what I'm looking for. But I'm also dealing with a Republican majority leader who said that his #1 goal was to beat me, not put Americans back to work, not grow the economy, not help small businesses expand, but to defeat me. And he's been saying that now for a couple of years. So, yeah, I've got to go out and enlist the American people to see if maybe he'll listen to them if he's not listening to me. Matt Spitolnik. Where's Matt? There we go.
Thank you, Mr. President. One question on the economy and one on foreign policy. Yeah. First of all, the Senate has taken up today a bill aimed at pressuring China to let its currency rise. What's your position on that bill? Would you veto or sign it should it hit your desk? On the foreign policy front, do you agree with Admiral Mullen's accusation that Pakistan's intelligence agency has used the Haqqani network as a virtual arm? And what, if any, consequences, up to and including a cutoff of aid, would you be willing to consider?
Obviously, we've been seeing a remarkable transformation of China over the last 2 decades. And it's helped to lift millions of people out of poverty in China. We have stabilized our relationship with China in a healthy way. But what is also true is that China has been very aggressive in gaming the trading system to its advantage and to the disadvantage of other countries, particularly the United States. And I have said that publicly, but I've also said it privately to Chinese leaders. And currency manipulation is one example of it, or at least intervening in the currency markets in ways that have led their currency to be valued lower than the market would normally dictate. And that makes their exports cheaper, and that makes our exports to them more expensive. So we've seen some improvement, some slight appreciation over the last year, but it's not enough. It's not just currency, though. We've also seen, for example, intellectual property, technologies that were created by U.S. companies with a lot of investment, a lot of upfront capital, taken, not protected properly by Chinese firms. And we've pushed China on that issue as well. Ultimately, I think that you can have a win-win trading relationship with China. I'm very pleased that we're going to be able to potentially get a trade deal with South Korea. But I believe what I think most Americans believe, which is trade is great as long as everybody's playing by the same rules. Now, the legislation that is being presented in Congress is an effort to get at that. My main concern, and I've expressed this to Senator Schumer, is whatever tools we put in place, let's make sure that these are tools that can actually work, that they're consistent with our international treaties and obligations. I don't want a situation where we're just passing laws that are symbolic, knowing that they're probably not going to be upheld by the World Trade Organization, for example, and then suddenly U.S. companies are subject to a whole bunch of sanctions. I think we've got a strong case to make, but we've just got to make sure that we do it in a way that's going to be effective. Last point is my administration's actually been more aggressive than any in recent years in going after some of these practices. We've brought very aggressive enforcement actions against China for violations in the tire case, for example, where it's been upheld by the World Trade Organization that they were engaging in unfair trading practices. And that's given companies here in the United States a lot of relief. So my overall goal is I believe U.S. companies, U.S. workers, we can compete with anybody in the world. I think we can make the best products, and a huge part of us winning the future, a huge part of rebuilding this economy on a firm basis that's not just reliant on maxed out credit cards and a housing bubble and financial speculation, but is dependent on us making things and selling things. I am absolutely confident that we can win that competition. But in order to do it, we've got to make sure that we're aggressive in looking out for the interests of American workers and American businesses, and that everybody's playing by the same rules, and that we're not getting cheated in the process. That is a term of art. So the Treasury Secretary, I've got to be careful here. It's his job to make those decisions. But it's indisputable that they intervene heavily in the currency markets, and that the RMB, their currency, is lower than it probably would be if they weren't making all those purchases in the currency markets to keep the RMB lower. With respect to Pakistan, I have said that my number one goal is to make sure that Al-Qaeda cannot